Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Expansion. Today's episode is for you if you are in the space of being like, what's the perfect audience for me? What is and if I do pick the audience, what's the best thing for them to offer? How do I position myself? What's my messaging? As business owners, we really just we feel like we want it to be perfect, right? And we want it to resonate with people. And when you are a really unique service-based entrepreneur, I've found that I've worked with hundreds of them, and I've found that it's sometimes you're so good at what you do and you're too close to it and you don't know the best way to create that for yourself. So I'm excited to offer this kind of belief busting and business design type of episode, not only to help the wonderful guests that come on and do these kinds of episodes, but also for the listeners that hear this and are like resonating with it, and it gives them breakthroughs as well. And we have amazing folks like Loretta who are coming on and willing to go through a coaching experience with me live to really have these breakthroughs, not just for her, but just for the world. And this is what I love about this kind of community and people like Loretta is like they're open to not only growth, because I can't work with anybody who's not, but they're also open to helping other people grow and creating this ripple effect on the Entrepreneur Expansion Show. So thank you so much for being here, Loretta.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Absolutely. So I was digging into your offer, what you do, and I have never seen anything like it, just so you know, or the way that I perceived it. So I'm excited to dig into what your thing is and how you created Living Life Defined. And if you are searching this, folks, it's livinglifedefined.com. And I would love for you to just kind of right out of the gate, just share what this is so that everybody understands.
Sure, absolutely. Living Life Defined is a culmination of the idea that you should live your biggest, best, most awesome life because you're going to die. And in the process, let's get you ready for death because that's going to help release all of those negativities, the baggage that holds you down from being able to build yourself up and live that big audacious life. So that's kind of how it was born, was just out of the idea of let's not fear death, let's honor it. It's going to happen whether we want it to or not. So if it's going to happen whether we want it to or not, let's invite it and let's make it the best we could possibly can.
I fell in love when I first heard this. And I just think that it's something that there's many people out there, maybe even listeners, that are like, they don't think like you just said, like it very nonchalantly talking about death, right? And so I just am so intrigued how this was born, origin story wise. Like, when did this? Because obviously, this wasn't always when you were a little kid, you probably weren't like, I want to create a program later. But where did this come from?
It started before I actually even knew it. And it started way back when my now 33-year-old daughter was about 8 years old. And we lost a pet, Shadow,
Mm.
our black lab. And at that point, I had been a single parent, not for a long time. I was newly divorced, but we had just moved into our a new place for us, and we adopted a rescue dog, Shadow, and she fit into our family like just the perfect love. And we had Shadow for probably about a year and a half, and she was such a fur babies are fur babies. But she had been with us maybe I think I said a year and a half, and she slept with my daughter every single night. I mean, we looked forward to coming home to her. And one particular Saturday, she was out with a play date with the dog next door, and the two dogs escaped and got out onto a busy road. And I was in my kitchen working, and my daughter busted through the door with that shrilling, Mom!
Yeah,
I mean, you can hear an 8-year-old daughter or 8-year-old
totally,
child come on in, and all she could spit out was shadow, 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 car, car, car. I'm being dramatic,
totally.
but it was a dramatic experience. We ran out onto the
Absolutely.
road, and Shadow looked up at me and her, and I'm gonna cry. But I scooped her up and we took her home and watched her take her last breath. And it was at that point when my 8-year-old daughter learned what death was.
Mm.
And I was a social worker working in a school district, working with children in an elementary school, and my own elementary child, I'd never had a conversation with death with her. Well, that's a long ways, that's a long time ago when that happened. But what I realized is I wasn't a good teacher, but Shadow had been the perfect teacher. And at
Mm.
that point, I started getting some of my stuff together for her, realizing I'm a single mom. I need to get some papers in order. She needs a guardian. I had her convinced that if I died, her Aunt Lynette was going to be the best place to live. And she was excited because she would eat better and have holidays better, and her life would be so good. So in that process is really where the beginnings of living life defined began. And fast forward then maybe to probably about, I don't know, 16 years later. And I was working at my job. I was back home in South Dakota. At that time, I lived in Colorado, and I was back home in South Dakota. And single mom still. I was most of her life a single mom. And I started realizing that so many people are so afraid of death. And in through those years, I had always promoted to her, had a conversations with her that if I died, I just wanted her to go on living. I didn't want it to crumble her. I didn't want it to, make her have that experience where she was one of those children that's, oh, my mom died when I was 10. It's like
Mm.
there's I mean, that's a horrible situation with respect. That's a horrible situation, but I wanted her to have the tools to rise above that. And so her whole life, basically, we always talked about death and we always honored it. And I don't remember the exact days. It was probably about 4 or 5 years ago when I actually started in the online world. And I watched my mom and my dad. They're divorced, but I watched them get their stuff together. And one parent has everything in order to a T, down to the music at the funeral and down to, I know what funeral I want, I know what food I want. And the other parent says, you can cremate me. And I'm thinking, boy, we're gonna have a mess. And the more I learned about that through their stuff getting ready or not getting ready, I'm like, probate's not going to be a fun experience. I'm not
No,
liking this at all.
totally.
And I started to get into the online world. And at that point, I realized that I really wanted to make a presence. And I'm a speaker at heart. I can talk. Um, and I thought, you know what, maybe that's my gift. Maybe that's where I need to explore and start getting more online. And the idea of living a great life towards death just evolved. I can't even tell you how. There was never a single moment. It's just more online presence, more online presence, more online presence, and more of the let's get you prepared so you can start talking about it, so you can start getting your stuff in order. And it evolved, and now I'm to 2 courses, and I have a pretty good presence online. It's starting, it's evolving, but it everyone you talk to says it, we struggle with that. Most people you talk to say they struggle with that. So there's my
To
evolution of
totally.
living life defined. And my big thing is you have to live a big life because you don't know when it's going to happen. It's going to
Yeah.
happen. We don't have an end date. We know, but we don't know that date. So until then, use the dishes, the special dishes, and go on that trip and make plans and do the things you want to do and say, I love you to the people that need to hear it because you might not be here tomorrow to say it to them. And you don't want people to not be there and you have not said the words that you needed to say. I think that's so important. So,
100%. And what I hear you say, I mean, when I went to your website and after listening to you talk, like when I went to your website, it glitched my brain a little bit because I was reading the first part and then it went into like the first part is like living your best life and then the second part is like get your will, your trusts and advanced directives in place and all this stuff and I was like, "Ah, I can see why she's kind of like stuck in this like place of
yeah,
like how do I actually put these
yes,
together
yes,
that make be that so that people understand what I do, right? And like
right.
understand really what this offers. Because to most people, those polarities are two different things,
They
right?
are. They are.
It's like best life, uh,
Yeah.
best death, right? Like
Yeah.
um, it is, I think the nice refreshing part and something I can see you leaning into from a social media presence is being open and honest about the whole death part, but living the best that you can live during this. And I think also what resonated with me when I was looking at your site as well is like my biggest fear as a human being, if you ask me my number one top fear, it's not squeezing every ounce out of this life, right? It's not like
Yes.
as much evolution and spiritual, mental, physical, emotional development that I can get into
Yep.
this and squeeze into this one Matt Travis round, like that's my
Yep.
ultimate desire. And so at the same time, I just turned 42 and I'm like, this is, and my parents are getting older. So it's like you're speaking to me. You're speaking to the type of person that wants that, right? But it's really where you're almost like mixing life coach with death coach, right? Like, and it's
Yes.
really like a very, very, very unique situation, right? Am
Yes.
I understanding this correctly?
Absolutely. And you already just hit one of my points of being stuck.
Okay.
Which direction do you go?
Yeah. Well, the thing is being an individual with ADHD and multi passions and having spent about half a million dollars on extending my education and running businesses and coaching and courses and all that stuff. I've learned that there's a lot of people that try to put you into a box. Okay.
Yes.
And isn't it interesting that I use that language and I didn't mean to, but it's kind of like if you think about it, where everyone's trying to put you in a box while you're living, and then they're also trying to put you in a box when you're dead, right?
Absolutely. You hit it. Absolutely.
And so I think the interesting thing here, and you can, anything we talk about, none of it's mine. All of this is for you, just so you know. You take it and use it however you want to use it. Okay.
Mhm.
But the idea is, and I remember hearing Tony Robbins talk about this, and I really loved this. He's like, you know, we live a very boxed life, right? We wake up in a box, pour our breakfast out of a box, we get into our box, we drive to our box, we type on a box, then we go and drive eat lunch out of a box, then we go home and we turn a box on to, and then we might crack open a cylinder to release, right? Like that's the job life, right? So it's like this is what people are doing. And then of course, like even the when you're dying, right? It's the same type of deal, right? Like you're in a
Right.
box. But what if there was alternatives, right?
Mhm.
Like what if there was something bigger and better for you in all fronts? What if it didn't have to be uh, like what if life wasn't just happening uh, to
To
you, it
you.
was happening for you, right? And you get to design your life consciously. You're a
Yes.
conscious creator. I say conscious creator, empowered entrepreneur, and optimistic overcomer. What if, right?
Mhm.
And so when I launched my online program, The Potential You, the U is actually there's like brackets around it, so it's an open
Mhm.
box because you get to make it whatever you want. So there was a reason behind that, and I think for you personally, you are it is an extremely unique way that I think people will resonate with your paths, and I think having both of them is what makes you unique, actually. So it's just making sure that we're positioning and messaging it in a way that aligns with them. Okay. And so it's not about removing them or just picking one. Because
Mhm.
let me ask you truly, when I say Loretta, like if I was just a traditional business coach, because this is what they do, you got to pick, just you got a niche, you got to
Oh.
pick one, right? How you wouldn't be on with me if you had listened to them because you're having trouble listening to that traditional
Yes.
advice. And I'm going to give you all sides of the coin, and we're going to help you figure out what actually you're divinely led to do today. Okay,
Love that. Love
um,
it. Love it.
so what ultimately? has let, like, when people tell you you have to pick, how does that feel in your body? What's the
Oh,
belief around that?
I've hated it and I've been told it many times. And I actually veered in that direction for a while and I did some presentations that I think they were good presentations, but it was empty nester moms in blended families. And that's a wonderful audience. That's me. But the people who were purchasing my first course were not those people. And I'm
Hmm.
like, well, that's very interesting. I wasn't marketing specifically towards them, but to niche me down, I struggle with it. So it's one of the reasons why I'm like, yeah, Matt, help me. So,
So my question for you is, who do you love working with? So there's two questions we ask, like, who do you really, what problem can you solve? And then who do you love working with? So like a lot of people, when they're first doing this, they're just coming at it. They're like, oh, this is what I do. Right. And so this is like, we'll find the people that need what I do. But then once you work with people long enough, I call it the maturing entrepreneur. It's like
mhm.
then you fall into, you've worked with enough people that you're like, oh my goodness, I love working with these people. You know? So for you, who is that for you?
Okay, now I'm going to eat my words because the biggest majority of people that I do work with now are empty nester moms, and maybe empty nester moms more than in blended families, but I guess I see the need for blended families because the nuances of being in a blended family and not having your end of life documents together is a little more significant than if you're in a nuclear family. So eat my
Totally.
words right
Well,
there.
it's okay. It's okay that you know what? Right? Like let's eat them, right? So the cool thing about this is that I've worked with clients because I help people build out their offers all the time. Like this is literally what I do. I do at least 10 of these a week, right? Um, so the interesting thing about this is I've worked with coaches that want to be like empty nester, people that help people
Hmm.
redefine their life in empty nest, right?
Yep.
The problem with that is it's not tangible enough a lot of the times for us to create marketing and messaging and positioning around. Like it even needs to be more niche down in that because it's
Mhm.
like, hey, um, what is I say it this way, what's the doorway desire or problem that they would meet you at? Like what is when they knock on your door, right? And like for me, I've been at many doors. So like I had one of my doors was weight loss, when I was running my fitness facility. One of them was to get stronger and faster. That's another doorway problem or desire. Another one is like I had a lot of moms when I went online who were trying to lose weight, but also really feel like they were in control of their life, right? And but it's taking a picture, it almost like, what does that look like? And it's feeling empowered, as a mom and making, helping my kids. So there's many ways you can message it and create it, but it always has to be tangible in some way, shape, or form for people to really wrap their head around it. And so we make roadmaps and things for people. But when I think of your offer, there's so much tangibility right at the doorway. Okay. So you're there,
Mhm.
the door they're meeting you at is getting their affairs in order.
Hmm. And not knowing how to, I think, is my starting point more than
Totally.
anything. Going that person that goes, well, I don't even know how to start.
Don't even know how to start. And then the nice part is you're helping them put all of that in order. Okay. So and this is what I put together and I'll show it all to you, but the whole thought process is this is a legacy clarity path is what this says. So the phase one is like what we call peace of mind, right? So it's getting your trust, your will and advanced directives in place. Okay. And then phase two of this is peace of heart, clarifying what you really want to
Yeah.
experience, give, and live before your final days. So
Yeah.
they get a chance to get everything. The doorway is totally like they're coming to you with this thing, right? And some people might not want to continue after that. That's fine. But this is the beautiful doorway that they're knocking on. Do you feel the doorway there? Like you can see it and it's very clear what
Yes.
it is. It's very tangible. We know what they're getting, right? When
Yes.
people go, a lot of people, the reason a lot of the life coaches I work with are, I don't like using the word struggling, but a lot of them are because they haven't gotten clear on what that doorway is. Because they're like, but I can help everybody with everything. I
Yes.
know that feeling because I am
Yes.
probably a true to life coach. I can help people in mind, body, business, relationships, all that stuff. And at the end of the day, I realized that there was just a particular person that I like working with.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally you. Like
Right.
it's these amazing women and mom service based entrepreneurs that just like have these unique a Rubik's Cube style offers that they are trying to position and message in a certain way. And you have that, and it can be all of it together. It can be. Um, and why not? Because
Yeah.
it fuses beautifully what I just said. Do you feel good with that?
Yes, absolutely. I wrote it down. I love
Perfect.
it. Clarity of path and peace of
Y-
heart. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
peace of mind, peace of heart. That peace of heart is perfect. The light bulb went.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really like it's this this legacy clarity path. It's
Mm-hmm.
this whole it basically speaks to the pain they know, right? So it's
Yep.
they and that's where a lot of most people on the planet are subconsciously are driven by pain. Like most people
Yep.
are away from painers versus towards pleasure folk.
Yes.
So they won't do something until
It
that
hurts.
yeah, it hurts and stuff like that. So when we are explaining this to people, we're like you're kind of giving them the cost of inaction of doing this right now, right? And if
Mm-hmm.
we really painted a picture for people of what this looks like, it sucks. Like if you don't have things in place, like a will and all this stuff in place, then you're leaving your children to try to figure it out. And you're
Yep.
also making it, and you probably could speak to this all day, but you're also making it where they have to I mean, you can cause rifts in families just by not having your own shit
Totally.
in order, right?
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's a huge deal. It leaves your family wide open for conflict, for hurt feelings. Yeah, it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing for a parent to do. A terrible thing. And
totally.
it's our responsibility to take care of our stuff. And it
Yep.
it maddens me when I hear people say, "Well, I'll just let the state take care of that," or "I don't have to do that." And it's like it's you take care of your vehicles, you take care of your homes. Why wouldn't you take care of your life stuff?
Well, responsibility and ownership are an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
some people are into it and some people are
Yeah.
not, and that's okay. But really, we're speaking to those people that are, right?
Yeah.
Are you, are you looking to have in this second half of life, right? This empty nest, you now have the opportunity, right? You've done all of the work. And it's really speaking to these folks in a very particular way. Because if you think about them, what has been their main focus up until the point they became an empty nester? Tell me,
Yeah.
Loretta, what is the
Children,
main
children, children, children,
thing?
proms and soccer and games and yeah, emotions and
Totally.
yeah,
Yep. And
children.
and this is where you now lead them into that next
Yeah.
message. You cared so much. You put blood, sweat, tears, everything
Mm-hmm.
into these kids,
Yeah.
and you're okay
Just dropping the ball.
dropping it, right? Like that doesn't make sense. That doesn't compute. It doesn't
No.
make any sense, right? So there it's what that does is just by asking that question, it's connecting a dot for them. It's making
Right.
them see, "Oh my goodness, you're right."
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we didn't do anything other than just ask a question and say, "Are you okay with this?" Right? Like,
Right.
because now you have a chance to do something to set up their future, right? You've done all of the job at this point, and that's been your identity, right? Like a lot of people, their identity is I'm a parent, I'm a mom, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden when their kids leave, they have to refine themselves, right? They're
Mhm.
refining their identity, and that's why you are a perfect, beautiful blend, more than I've probably ever heard.
Well, thank you. I
So
appreciate that.
I truly believe that you're sitting on a beautiful gold mine here, and it's something where we just want to make sure we're positioning it and creating the messaging like we're talking about right here that really gets people to lean in, right? And gets people to because emotion creates motion, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
the thing about
Yep.
the subconscious mind. This is the language of the subconscious is feeling and emotion. And when we feel that, and to prove that point, folks, is if you've ever experienced trauma before in your life, which if you've been alive for any amount of time, you've probably experienced some kind of trauma, but or you've seen people experience trauma, you'll know that they just are never the same after that, right? And it's because it's such an acute emotional charge of trauma, right? Emotional charge. So what happens is they have a focus, and then the emotional charge, that's what's communicating with the subconscious, which creates a new program that runs. Okay. So our job is to help them see why, you've done all the work up to this point. You got them into college. You did all the things, right? So let's take that one last step before, because this is the thing, because the step right after this is we're going to learn about what your dreams and aspirations are. Because up
Mm-hmm.
until this point, right, we just put together your will and stuff like that. But let's be real, when you had these kids, did you put your dream on the back burner? Did you put your goals and aspirations on the back burner? Because many people, they wake up in this, it's kind of like the Talking Head song. Like they wake up in their 40s and they're like, this is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. Oh my God, how did I get here? Right?
That's a great one.
It's exactly what it feels like, right? And you're like, man, I just all of a sudden like this just woke up, right? We woke up. And I love like Alan Watts talks about this in a really interesting way. He says, most of us, we're not living life. We're trying to get from step to step to step, right?
Yes.
Kindergarten to first grade to second grade.
Yes.
Everything's a stepping stone to the next thing. When it really should be like a musical, or it should be like music, or like a dance. Where if you think about like when people are composing, they're not composing for that last note.
Right.
They're not
The whole
dancing for the
journey.
hitting the last mark. It's to dance. It's
The
to have the
journey.
dance,
Yeah.
right? It's the journey. But the interesting thing is talking to you that gave me just kind of a different insight off of what Alan Watts had said was that you have something really powerful here that we are looking at that last note. We are looking at that last step because that's the thing. But is not having that last step in order causing you to not really examine how much time you have left on the clock? Okay.
Mhm.
Because there's a really cool exercise that I did with one of my coaches at one time, and they pulled out a measuring tape and they pulled it out to 100. Okay. And they said, you're here. This was when I was like 30. And they were like, you're here. And this is how much time you have left. And when you look at it like that, you're like, oh my goodness,
Yep.
it's
Yep.
crazy to think like how quickly
Just
this
like that.
goes, right? And most people aren't setting it up and planning their life. Life is just happening without you
Yeah.
like having any sort of like idea of what it looks like. So when you blend this and you say, "Hey, let me help you get everything fully set so that it's all in order, so that the final step, once you send your kids away, they're all out of the house, you're empty nester, you now just get this last step in place, and then let's figure out what's your piece of heart. Like, what is this thing that let's go achieve your dreams. So we got everything in order. Let's go achieve your dreams. How does that sound? They're like, let's go.
Done. Yeah, I really like that, man. Really like
You
that.
know? So I dig this, and I want you to also think about how storytelling is exactly how we sell this, right?
Hmm.
When people listen to this episode, they're going to totally get what you do, right? And they're going to totally get this vibe and this feeling of it, and they're going to be like, I think I want that. And it's because we've talked about it and we've told stories in different ways from both sides that helps us to see and feel and have an experience of like, oh, right, this aha. So it's always thinking, how can I tell this story in different ways? You told the story about your dog's shadow, right? We had a feeling and connection to that. And that was the beginning of this entire thing, right? Death is a part of life. People just
Hmm.
don't want to think about it. Okay. A lot of times it's because they're scared of what it means to die. They don't know
Yes.
what
And
that means.
it's painful. The unknown is pain. I mean, it's unknown and most people's association with death because it hurts. It hurts to lose the people we love.
Totally. Totally.
Acceptance early on, I think, is just in talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. I liken it sometimes to the talking about it part to like children in a school practice fire drills. And the reason they practice fire drills is not to scare them, it's to prepare them if there
Bingo.
was a fire. And talking about death, I think is a lot on the same trajectory. You're talking about it to prepare children or to prepare whatever age.
Yeah.
But even as adults, the more we talk about it, the easier it gets. Our brain forms a frame of reference that you can always go to. And the research shows once you have that frame of reference in place and there's traumatic events, they're easier to deal with. It's not going to take away the pain. It's never going to take away the
Totally.
pain. But at least if your brain has a place to go to that's familiar, it's the crushing, I think, can be minimized if that's possible. I believe it's important to do. I believe it because you do become a little more comfortable with the idea.
For sure. And a lot of your job is to shift perspectives.
Yes.
That's your job is really just to change their perspectives and give them insights and create these like the way that I like to teach my clients is like these caring connections with people and then selflessly serve them and help them see the ascension of steps they can take with you. So like a potential lead magnet idea that could be a good one for you is like the legacy clarity checklist. So this is the 10 steps to organize your life, legal affairs, and purpose without overwhelm. So that's what they don't want, right? So it's just this checklist that they could go through, and it's a calming, empowering guide for these empty nesters who want to feel in control, clear, and aligned legally and
Mhm.
emotionally. This checklist includes the three documents every woman should have in place. And then, it's explained simply what that looks like, a personal values reflection tool that goes through their values, and then a small but powerful ways to start living more intentionally today. And then, of course, the call to action in this could be like, this isn't about planning for death. It's about creating peace now and for the people that you love. Okay. And just so you know, I'll
Right.
give you all these notes and ideas and things
Right.
like that.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Um,
It's a great one.
and so this just makes people be like, okay. And then, so that's like and there's two ways to think about this. So that's a more empowering one. You can also come in at it from another angle, which tends to be work better with cold traffic. So like when people are cold traffic, they don't trust you to, you need to, that's more of a warm traffic type of lead magnet. Okay. Cold traffic, they'll trust you to get out of pain, but don't know that they can trust you to get their desired reality. It's like a weird thing. So what they'll a lot of times like resonate with is the top 10 mistakes or like this top 10 mistakes that people make when organizing their life, legal affairs, and end of term that costs you dearly, right? Like this is like the type of way. So it's just a different
Sure.
language patterns and just
Sure.
different connections with them. They're like, and they almost will download it just to be like, well, I don't want. What are they? I don't, I don't want whatever you just said. So I'm going to download it just so that I make sure that I don't have that happen, right? And the unfortunate part, especially with like this particular type of stuff, is like, man, it's like like I said, like most people won't do something until pain hits. So how many people are unprepared? So also part of your content strategy is speaking to like the cost of inaction, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the cost of what happens when people, so just telling stories, right? Like Susie Ann, she had such an amazing life. She just got out of, her she had just gotten her kids out of the house. Everybody, she did all the things right, but she forgot to get her stuff in order. And that left her kids that had just, she unfortunately passed early, and that left her kids who were just new to the workforce having to figure it all out and having to, while they were trying to start their families, having to figure out how to handle this situation, and they
Yeah.
had no clue what to do. And the cost of getting lawyers and all this stuff in place was massive. So that burden was passed on to them. You don't want this. I've seen it many times in what I do with people.
Mhm.
So if you don't want this to happen to you, connect with me and we can figure out how to set up you can download my checklist and start doing this today. And then the nice part is that just is a way for you to get them into your world, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
the top of the chain. So now they're in your world and now they're having this conversation about with you. And then they get to see, as now that they're in your world, now you get to tell them, look, this isn't just about this. This is about living your best life. But they won't hear that until they're ready. They're already in,
Yeah.
once they've walked through the door. So
Yeah.
that's why you can have both. And
I
you
like
just
that.
need to
Thank
make sure,
you.
yeah, you just need to make sure you're meeting them at one door at a time. It's hard to cut Loretta in half and have her walk through two different doors at the same time, right?
Right, right.
Like when we first met, I mean, and I told you, I said I have three different options for these podcast
Yep.
episodes. Which one would you like? And I'm sure you were like, oh, they all sound cool. And you decided to go with this one because this one felt like the best doorway for you. This was a
Right,
doorway
right.
desire or problem of yours. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'm going to walk through this door, right? Not even knowing me,
Yep. Yeah. Nope.
you
Nope.
know?
Sure glad I met you.
Yeah, it's been great. So, but the fun part about this is like, that's the thing. Now, as we're talking, you're going to be way more open to
Mhm.
hear what I do and how I do it,
Right.
right? Because we've had this genuine connection
Yeah.
time, right? Relationship marketing is the future with AI and everything else, and we're hyper connected all over the place.
Yeah.
There's nothing more than connecting with a human to human and actually having a real human experience, which is what people want, especially your folks. They're craving that, right?
Yeah.
And they're craving somebody that not only like guides them through putting that stuff together, but they can see you as a guide as well into figuring out what's next for them in their life. And there's some people that are just going to get off the train at the peace of
Mhm.
mind, and that's fine, right? So you can build this as a multi, tiered style offer that just creates this, I call it the aligned ethical ascension model, right? So they go from
Mhm.
this front end offer, right? So this legacy checklist, and then they're getting into your content, they're liking the content, and then they get into maybe they opt in for just the peace of mind stuff. They opt into that, right? And then they go into your higher premium package where they're getting both just
Mhm.
just like a real full experience, and they love it and they're in, right? So it's just continuing them down this pipeline, and you get to do what you know in your heart that you were called to do, and you would have let it go a while ago, Loretta, if when the other business coaches told you to do let it go and you can't do this, you would have done it, but you knew in your heart of hearts that it just didn't feel right to you. True or false?
Mhm. True.
Right?
Absolutely true.
And so you're like, you've been holding on to it for this long, so why the hell not just wear the
Yeah.
dress and go out and be it, right?
Right.
Like just
Right.
be this awesome, authentic version of yourself and really speak to people in a way that they get this and understand this, and you know talk about how to meld this all together. And I mean, AI is real good about how, basically
Right.
taking what we did today and just making it even better. But like this is the thing. I love it all together. I love the legacy clarity path, the offer framework, and um yeah, there's so much power in this. And there, if we think about like messaging and hooks and social post ideas, like there's so many ways you can go with this. Any questions about any of this though so
I
far?
do right off the bat when you went to my website and you notice the two different I mean, they really are two different topics. What did you think? No?
Oh, it glitched my brain. And I'll
Yes.
tell you why it
Yes.
glitched my brain. It was because it just needs to be flipped around.
I
So
wondered that when you were talking, if it shouldn't be first do this,
yeah.
and then it's like we lead into the live your great life. So
Yeah. Like,
that's
is it okay
helpful.
if I pull it up and tell you like
Absolutely.
okay, cool.
Please.
So I'll show you what I
Absolutely.
mean by this. So, and just so you know, I have an ADHD tab issue. I have a lot of tabs, but,
Oh
but,
my goodness, Matt, look at your tab.
it doesn't even, yeah, it's okay. That's my thing. But when we're looking at this, like I came to the site and I was like, okay, it is time to start living life defined. Now, the other part is like, this is super like life coachy talk, life coachy
Hmm.
speak. And like people don't know what that is, right? So what happens with a lot of life coaches, like let's say you wanted to leave with this. We could, but the thing is we would have to make it something where we define what defined is. Like
Right.
we have to like what is the result we're trying to help these people get? Are we trying to help them find their next career, find their next purpose, like career wise? Are we helping them find their get deeper in their spirituality? Are we trying to help them lose weight? Like all these things. People don't get clear. They're like, just, how to live your best life and people don't know what the fuck that is. And so they
I
don't
appreciate,
they don't
I
book it.
really, I appreciate that so much because the origins of living life defined is because I had to pick a domain. And it's
Totally.
like, well, I should have picked something with my name, Loretta something. And I'm like, well, death defined and
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm like, I don't want to be death. I want to be life. And yeah, yeah, when the people coaches or whatever say sometimes you gotta fall in love with your whatever. I like living life defined. It's on all my stuff. I like it just fine. Do I think it does justice to my whole thing? I completely agree. People don't understand what it even means.
Yeah, totally.
So I
Like,
appreciate you saying that.
I mean, if we had a button right here, so like if I were to change this up, and this I do this
Mm-hmm.
with clients all the time. I'm like, we put a button here, and we're like it's almost like we we need them to understand what you're doing because as you can see, like it's funny. So like you keep going. Is it time to put your life in order? So like from here to here, it just starts to be like, what? Wait a second. What does she do?
Now we're dead. It's almost like
And
take
I'm
that
like,
whole section
yeah,
out.
yeah. And then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, she does this stuff. And that's when I was like, she has a lot of really cool things here. So I mean, you could even have like, um, kind of like in the Matrix, you can have red pill, blue pill type of thing, where you can have like it's almost like uh planning your life or planning your death, right? Like you could have
Oh,
that,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
because
I
it's
like
really
that.
clear what that is. Like it's very
Uh-huh.
clear what that is, right? So you could have two buttons, but the thing is when you do it on mobile, you want to make sure that you don't have to scroll at all to reach them,
Sure.
right? But if I like when I first looked at it, I said, you know what? Really, what we need is the top part. The call to action is like it's like let's make sure, and this is just free flowing. We can play with this, but it's like let's. Are you? Or you can even ask some question. Um, are you? Are all your affairs in order so your children don't?
Yeah.
So the burden doesn't fall on your children. And
Yeah.
we could even put a quiz there, like take
Yeah.
the readiness quiz. Take the readiness assessment or book your readiness audit with me, right? And now you get to have this one-to-one conversation. I mean, I do really well just this type of stuff. That's why I added this to my podcast. I was like, oh my goodness, I just want to talk to people because that's what I do best anyways. That's my human design generator being itself. So it's like that's where when you set that up for yourself, it just it just flows because
Mm-hmm.
now people are going through a pipeline. And the other thing about it is like most people that have this website and they're missing a chance to capture people right away, right? Put something right here, like book a call. They don't do that. They want to know why, right? So
Right.
giving them a reason to be like, boop, I want this
Yeah.
thing, right? Like I want like uh, you know, the like full protection plan. Like does let's get you design your full protection plan today or whatever it is, right? And that is going to be very applicable and they're going to click on that and then you can take them wherever the hell you want to go after
Right.
that. Like,
I so appreciate you saying that because I have sat with myself so many times saying, you go from this, which is go life, to this, which is you're gonna die.
go
And these
death.
things are gonna
Yeah.
happen to you. You're the first
Yeah.
person who has pointed that out that said there's a little bit of disconnect. I mean, they are connected in
Yeah.
my brain, they're 100% connected, but in most people's vantage point, it's like, what?
Yeah.
Let's live a big life, sort of, kind of, but I don't know what life defined is. But then are you ready for death? Will it find you alive? It's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
thank you
too
for
much. Yeah. No, my pleasure. It's too many twists and turns where it's
mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
um, like, what happens to a lot of my clients is they come in, they meet me at the doorway. So I've had many different doorways, like I said. Right now, my whole doorway is what I'm doing with you, right? Like this is the doorway that people come to me with. And some of them after we do something like this they keep going down the rabbit hole with me, and what most people realize is that I actually when they get into my services and my programs, I do so much deep subconscious healing work with people and help
Mm-hmm.
them. What I hear all the time is become the CEO that can actually deliver this and sell this, and it's becoming that person. So it's a mix of subconscious self mastery with subconscious sales systems, right? So it's like this beautiful mix of the two. And I listened to enough people after doing, being a high ticket closer for not just my company, but other companies. It was like I heard everybody say, I need more leads, I need more sales over and over again. That was it, right? And
Yep.
so I created the lead and sales accelerator. That was it's the next phase that I bring people through where I build out all of their things. But it's like that's what you have to meet people with is like what's the first thing that they want and will come to you with, and then you can have a conversation about everything else. And the other cool thing about this is in your content and when you're explaining this, you can just start telling stories about what this really is and the different perception shifts, right? Like getting your affairs, here's a perfect example. Getting your affairs in order doesn't have to be depressing. It can actually lead to the breakthrough that you haven't been living up to your true dreams and aspirations of what you really wanted this life to be like. So this could set off a chain reaction to allow you to really fully live your life defined, whatever it is,
Wonderful. Love it.
right? So do you see how that's way more cohesive and it just feels better and it
Yes.
flows easier and then it's like, cool. Okay, I
Yeah,
got this.
I do.
Okay, awesome. Um, it's so fun because I didn't know how this whole call was going to go direction wise. Um, but it's been wonderful. Any other questions that you have around
Oh
this?
my goodness, I could probably have a lot.
That's okay. Let's see if we
Well,
can get.
and just the website stuff is very, very helpful because that has been you say a glitch in your brain. That's a perfect way to describe it. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like I kind of go what, but then also like the offer and the marketing. I've been challenged too. Like so now I have my first course. It's organizing my life, and that's a course that's designed to help people get started. It's 13 worksheets, and all it is you inventory and document everything you have. So all your passwords, all your account numbers, all your the contact numbers. It's like one file folder that you hand over or you have in a safe place. So if something happens
Yeah,
to you, somebody can just come right on in and just shut off your utilities or put something on pause, or they'll know where your card title's at, or where do you hang your keys, how do you get into your phone, how do you
sure.
get into your computer. And then that segues into the one that all about the legals, which is just this weekend. It'll be live this weekend, and that's the educational course that can help people say how to do it. I've toyed around with the idea of saying, how do I stack these two? So when you talk about offers, here's organizing and here's legals. How do you stack them properly? My audience is still pretty small. It's growing, but it's still pretty small.
Yeah.
Do you inundate people with, say, oh, here, let's get you into organizing and then go to legals next? Or do you go, I mean, some people, like, I've had interest in legals that have never heard about organizing. Any advice where
The,
that's concerned?
well, the thing is that you're talking to people that don't know what they don't know. Like if you really think
So,
about it, like you
okay.
know so much. This is what I learned being a coach. I'm like the more that I know, the more I confuse my messaging and my positioning,
Oh,
right?
that makes sense.
So it's like really, we got to think of people in like four different categories. There's the 60% that have no clue they have a problem. Then you have the 20% that are problem aware. They know they need to do this, right? And then you have the 17% that's information gathering. Okay. So they're gathering, like, what do I
Mhm.
actually need to do? Like those two things that you said, people don't even know they're information gathering. So you're going to teach them, okay, there's this path, blah, 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 blah. There's this path. Like, which one do you feel like you would need more of? And then, of course, the top of the pyramid is the 3% that just buy right away, right? So at
Gotcha.
any given time, they're going to fall into those categories. So when we create an aligned ascension plan, um, people call it a funnel.
Right.
You probably heard this, right?
Yeah.
It's not as fun as the way that I describe it. I like to call it a water slide. I think of it better.
Oh,
I
that's
like it better. I
wonderful.
like it better that way. So think about it this way. When people first find you, whether it's on social media or let's say you have a podcast, whatever it is, like they first find you. This is the top of your water slide. Okay. And then they get into your water slide, and then this is what happens to people is they're either getting their people that get in their water slide, they're either getting them stuck or they're shooting them out into the parking lot or onto the concrete because they have like a pipe to their water slide that goes off and it's just a weird pipe. It doesn't
Oh.
cohesively just make them go wee all the way down into the pool, which is your core premium offer, which is what we want people to get into. Okay. So when we put them in, right, we have a lead magnet. Maybe they download this lead magnet. Then they're getting this next part where you're giving them information of what the next step, like maybe it's a quiz and it's like decide where you need to start. Like what's the best way for you to where do you need to start with your planning? Okay. And then that gives them a definitive thing where they're like, oh, okay, cool. I know what that is. And then that leads them to the next part, which is like all the things, right, on the water slide. So it's all those next things, right? Either one of those options that they do. And
Mhm.
then they go to the next option, and now they're going all the way down to the water slide where they're actually creating the best life version of themselves. And Loretta is their life coach. That's it, right? Do you see how
I
fun that?
do.
It's way more
And you,
fun.
yeah, you took me on a water slide that did go this way, because my first lead magnet that I ever brought out was a bucket list. Well, no, it was actually my second one, but it's a bucket list, which goes down the let's live a great life, not let's get ready for death. I mean, it's getting ready for, in my mind, it's like, well, it's topic related and it's fun, but it's definitely a different um topic and course than the whole wills and trusts and advanced
It's
directives and
getting
all
them
that.
stuck in the water
So
slide. You're getting them
yeah,
stuck in the water slide,
totally.
or they're getting shut out.
Totally.
I explain it to clients this way. It's like if they came into your water slide and you were selling them donuts. You're like, hey, who wants donuts? And then they got in the water slide, and all of a sudden, the next step of the water slide, you sold them broccoli.
Yep. Yep,
They're like,
yep,
what? They're like,
absolutely.
I don't
I
want
don't get
broccoli,
it.
right?
Yep.
So, and vice versa. Let's say you sold them broccoli first and then, donuts. It makes them feel, so people aren't going to feel free to live their best life until they know how they like people, the subconscious mind loves certainty the most.
Yes.
Certainty,
Yep.
familiarity,
Yep.
predictability, all that stuff. So when they feel certain that they have this stuff in order, then they're going to feel more open to having the conversation of, hey, are you living your best life? Right? We
Mm,
just
true.
prepared everything at the end here. Like now we can have this conversation about
Right.
this.
I
Right?
really like that, Matt. I really like that twist on it. It resonates with me right down to my core of saying my
Love
messaging
it.
is confusing. It really is. From starting with my website to my lead magnet bucket list, it's very confusing. It's not about really it's not about the getting ready for or being prepared for death. It's living a great life. And I am twisting the two around. You really do need to take care of your affairs, I feel like, and then go live that great, big, powerful life. So you really gave me a lot of clarity today. I really, really can
Uh,
see it.
I
I,
love that.
yeah,
I
me
absolutely
too.
love that. That's
Yeah.
so fantastic, and it just makes my heart happy that you're happy. So,
Yeah.
so it's really like when we think about the new, like, different types of messaging structures here. It's like I
Mhm.
help value-driven women organize their legal affairs, or we can be empty nesters. I helped
Mhm.
uh, empty nester women organize their legal affairs and then rediscover their life that they want to live now so they can leave behind peace, not chaos, right? Like that's an example of
Yep.
it.
Yep.
An alternative to that would be like, get your will, trust, and directives in order, and then get crystal clear on the life you want to live while you're
Yeah.
still here,
Yeah.
right? So it just
Yep.
feels more connected and dialed in. So I love that. Um, I'll send you over all of the notes and things that I have in my folder,
Ah,
as well
love it.
as the AI companion I had running this whole time. Then you have this whole thing. You can listen back to it as
Perfect.
well.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so, folks, if this, I hope this helped you as much as it helped Loretta. And if you find yourself stuck in something like this and you want to do a session like this, just, yeah, let me know. Reach out, connect with me. And like I always say, folks, keep showing up, taking action, and you will get results.